Hi, I'm Brian Hoffman, Vice President of Engineering at Arch Network, and today we're going to continue with the tutorial series and talk about APL tokens. APL tokens are very similar to Solana's SPL token standard, and it allows you to create, mint, and transfer tokens. If you're not familiar with the SPL or APL standard, part of the Arch program library, which is a set of built-in programs that allow you to do different functionality, such as staking or validating, and as well as creating tokens. And today we're going to be talking about just that. So let's go ahead and walk through the steps on how to create and mint your very own APL token. All right, so to get started, we're going to go back to our Arch book, which is, as we spoke about before, located at book.arch.network. You can always find all of our relevant documentation there, and it's a great asset and resource for any of the questions you may have about developing on the Arch network. So we're on the home page, and we're going to navigate to a section over here on the left under Program Development called Program Examples. If you expand that section, we have a couple different program examples that you can walk through to show you some maybe typical type of programs that you might want to create when you're building smart contract functionality. In this case, we're going to be working on the fungible token. This section called Creating APL Tokens on Arch Network shows you a whole bunch of different things you can do with the Arch CLI in order to manage and create tokens. I'll spare you without reading all the details. You can do that on your own time. But by the end of this tutorial, you should be able to create tokens, mint them, transfer them, and maybe if we get to, in time, we can get to some of the more advanced features, such as burning tokens, and then we can even look at some things like multi-sig, freezing, and batching. So, as with every tutorial, we want to make sure that you have a couple prerequisites nailed down. If you haven't set up your environment already, I recommend you go back to our first tutorial and walk through that so that you get everything already up and running. But generally, what we need is Rust 1.84 or higher, the Arch Network CLI, which you can get through our release page with the link in this tutorial, or you can just use Homebrew, as we did in the first tutorial, Docker with Docker Desktop or OrbStack if you're on Mac, and a running development environment. And like I said, if you haven't done that already, you can go ahead and click the Quickstart guide and follow that to get to a running, working implementation. And then come back to the token tutorial and join us here. So one thing to note is that the built-in programs that are part of the Arch program library all have a fixed program ID. In the APL token case, it is this APL token with a bunch of ones after it. This is the ID of the contract on the network. So if you ever need to refer to it, that's what it is. It never changes. So in this case, the first step is to make sure that our local environment is up and running. Because I've already done that, I won't run that command, but you should be able to see in your Docker Desktop or your OrbStack environment, your ArchNet DevNet up and running. In this case, I have my local validator running with Titan and Bitcoin D. So I should be good to go. If I click the logs, I should be able to see my blocks are being generated and created. In this case, everything seems to be working smoothly. I don't see any glaring errors. And hopefully you have the same. And just in case you want to make sure that everything is going, you can also do this stuff from the command line. So if we go to our terminal and we hit get block height, should see, we're at 7603 at this point. If we run it again, we're at 7623. Looks like we're good. So now what we're going to do is walk through creating a configuration profile within Arch CLI. So Arch CLI's configuration profile setup is modeled very similarly to the AWS CLI. So if you're familiar with that, these might seem pretty similar. But if you aren't, essentially what we have is this config subset of commands. And if we go to the terminal, we can do Arch CLI config and get a help menu. And you can see that we can manage our profiles through this case. And what this is useful for is, let's say you're building locally, but then you want to deploy it to a testnet environment, or you want to move it to mainnet at some point in time when you're ready to go to production. This way you can create several different profiles and switch between them and run the same commands against that. So you can deploy your program or create tokens, whichever environment you want to do. In this case, we already have a profile that fits what we want to do. So if we hit list profiles, we can see our default profile is pointing to our Docker environment. But you could have tons of different profiles here to hit different environments if you want. In this case, we're good to go. So we don't need to run this configuration profile at this point. The next step is generating some keys. So when we're creating tokens, APL tokens, there's a couple different accounts that we have to create, and we need keys in order to create those accounts. So the first one is the payer key. This is the one that's going to pay for all of the activities that we're going to be executing on these tokens. We have the mint authority, which is basically the account that's going to have control over the token, and that means whether it can be minted or transferring these tokens and controlling any of the other aspects of the token once it's been launched. And then we have the mint key, which is the key that's actually generates the pub key for the actual token mint itself. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do like I said. We're just going to go ahead and create a directory called demo keys in our home directory. You can create it anywhere you want. It doesn't really matter where you manage your keys, but remember these keys are your private keys, so you probably want to put them somewhere that you can secure and keep private. In this case, we're just doing a demonstration, so it's not that big of a deal. And we're going to use OpenSSL, so you need to make sure you have that on your system. If you have Mac, you probably already have it. In this case, we're going to do demo keys pair.key, and we're going to generate 32 bytes into that of randomness into that file to create our key. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste this to save some time from our tutorial, but we're basically going to do this for all three of the accounts that we want to manage. So now if we do an ls on demo keys, we should be able to see all three of our keys are in there, and there's 32 bytes, so we're looking good. The next step we want to do is we got to fund that payer account. Now, if you're running on testnet or you're running on mainnet, you need to make sure that those accounts have funds in their account. On testnet, we have an open faucet, so you can just go ahead and airdrop funds to your payer account on testnet. On mainnet, you're going to have to acquire Arch, however you might do that. And we'll have details later on when we get to mainnet release. But for now, we're running on a local node, and we have the faucet enabled. So we can just run this account airdrop command. So we're going to do Arch CLI account airdrop. And we have to specify a key pair path for the key or for the account that we actually want to fund. And in this case, it's our payer. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. You can see the profiles there. Account was funded successfully. And by default, the airdrop account, the account airdrop command will give you one Arch, or what is this? I don't know how many that is, how many LAN ports that is, a lot. So in this case, we should be able to let's show that account. And let's see if we can see those LAN ports that have been created in that account. And if we go there, voila, there you go. There's our account. We have one Arch in there, and we're good to go. And as we talked about before, since it's not a program, executable is false. So we're good to go. Should be able to create a mint. All right, so we're now on step 4. We're going to create the token mint. In this case, we're creating a new token mint with 6 decimals. And we're going to provide it the mint authority and a payer key pair. So I'm going to copy paste this in and create the mint. Boom. Looks like the mint creation worked. So in this case, we have a mint address here ending with 1YQ. And we're going to go ahead and export mint. Okay, so now we have our mint address. And we're going to move on to step 5, which is creating a token account. And we can go ahead, as always, and go to the Arch CLI token and create an account and see what we need. So we're looking for a mint, an owner, and a key pair path for the payer. And so we can go ahead and do Arch CLI token create account. We're going to do mint, which is our mint that we just did. We're going to do the owner, which is demo mint authority and key pair path. All right. Looks like the token account was created successfully. So we're going to go ahead and save that address. Let's see, where is it? Export ATA equals PR. And then we can move on to step 6, which is minting an initial supply. We're going to go ahead and mint 1,000,000 raw units, which is 6 decimal place token is like 1 token. We're going to mint 1 token. And we can do that with this command where we pass the authority in. And as you can see, we've just minted 1,000,000 units to this account up here on the thing. You'll see it successfully minted it to this account. And now, as we always have discussed before, we're going to not just trust, but we're going to verify on chain that the mint and the creation of this token is correct on chain. And we can do that using the Arch CLI token show mint command. So we're going to do Arch CLI token show -mint, and then we have to give it the pub key. In this case, We're going to do, where is it? We got to use the mint address. So we can just use our variable that we had, and we can see the mint information. See, so we have a supply of 1 million units, 6 decimals. It's been initialized. We see the mint authority here, the address of it, and we don't have a freeze authority, which is a more advanced feature, but we don't have that in this tutorial. But you can read up more about it in the Arch book. We can also check the account balance of the account that we created. So we do token balance, Arch CLI token balance of the ATA, and we can see, oh look, he has a balance of 1. The raw is 1 million units. So we can see the owner, the mint itself, the token account. Great. And then we can just go ahead and check the mint supply if you want to do that. You do Arch CLI token supply and then the mint pub key or mint address, and you can see the information here. So all those commands will help you get an idea of what's on chain for the token that you created. At this point, we've basically created and initialized a mint with a supply of 1 of our tokens. Now, some of you may be asking, well, what is the name of the token? What's the symbol? What's the image? Is there any other metadata that's associated with the token? Much like Solana operates, Arch only tracks these few fields for the token in order to keep it the most secure and consolidated structure. We will be adding more documentation to discuss the token metadata standard, which allows you to add those features on. It operates a lot like Metaplex does for Solana. So you can go ahead and either search on Google or through our documentation to find out more about those items.